What is going on, crew and squad? Welcome to the Ghost and Clover Podcast. My name is Trey with Ghost Tactical, and I'll be your tour guide through tonight's river tour, if you will. We are streaming live, as always, on YouTube to over 150 countries worldwide. If you're out there in the live chat on either one of our channels or the Ghost and Clover channel, go ahead and say something. We don't know that you're out there unless you do. If you're watching this in replay or listening to this in podcast form, go ahead and utilize the comment section. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Let us know how dumb we are, how smart we are, really, how incredibly good looking we are, even though you can't really see us. All you see is an avatar, or you just hear my silky smooth voice. Before we bring in Clover real quick, we do want to remind everybody to make sure that you go ahead and once again, thank you for supporting us and all that. But we ask you to support our sponsors as well. This podcast is obviously powered by our good friends over at European American Armory Corporation, EAA Corp. You guys are very familiar with them, I'm sure. If you know anything about Clover and I's channel, you see their products all the time. We do have the third segment is going to be the random viewer topic segment. That's presented by our good friends over at Monstrum Tactical. So what we ask is everyone go support those companies. Obviously, try to go buy some of their products if you like them. If nothing else, go over to the social media sites and thank them for sponsoring and supporting this podcast. Let's bring in our co-host, the gatekeeper himself of Texas. What's up, Clove?
Yo. Hey, yeah, don't forget also, guys and gals, Self-Defense Radio Network and Firearms Radio Network, correct, where you can find some other cool stuff to listen to. Much better stuff, I'm sure, than what you're going to hear tonight.
I guarantee it. Yeah. Yeah, today's date for the records is Sunday, May 5th, 2024. A couple of big things going on today. First, you got Cinco de Mayo for all those that want to, I guess that's, I think Cinco de Mayo is a celebration of a battle within the Mexican Revolution. It's not Independence Day, but it's a battle. I think I can't remember exactly which one, but more importantly, no offense to everyone out there, but more importantly, it is Revenge of the 5th. I hope everybody had a great May the 4th be with you. Depends on what side of the line that you fall, depending on which day of these that you maybe have better feelings towards. I've always kind of been a Vader guy, but being a Vader guy doesn't necessarily mean I'm an Empire guy. Because I think that Vader, you have to include Anakin, right, Clove? You have to include both of them. So if Anakin / Vader, if you're a Vader guy, I know you're a Vader fan like I am. Do you consider him more Empire or more Sith or more Jedi?
I think he was more Empire.
Yeah, I do too.
Vast majority of his life was, and the vast majority of his accomplishments, for better or worse, came through that. And I'm definitely an Empire guy. I'm a Law and Order. I'm not on board.
You're not a big fan of the Rebel Scum.
Rebel Scum. No. Now I can get on board. I can get on board with the ne'er-do-wells, the nerf herders like Solo and Calrissian, and some of those, and of course the bounty hunters, and some of that type of riffraff in the galaxy. But that's just your general outlaw riffraff. It's not the big T word, let's just say, since we're on YouTube. There you go. And that's what the Rebel Scum absolutely were. We're big T words.
Oh, yeah. Real quick, the bearded guy throws out a $2 super chat. A few bucks to help with the channel. So appreciate you very much. So I know you've been busy and all of that. For those out there that are new to the podcast and don't really know what the hell is going on, both of us bring a topic. And neither one of us know what each of this topic is. And we discuss it, debate it, if you will, for 10, 15 minutes or whatever. And like I said, the third segment of this is a viewer topic. So we're going to, not right now, we're going to give you some instructions here later on, but you must be present to win this, if you will, win it, if you will. But we're going to give you an opportunity to register to be that random viewer that's picked to. If you are picked, we ask you to save time, to have your topic ready. It could be anything. Doesn't have to be guns. Doesn't have to be anything gun related. Most of the stuff is not. This is a fun podcast with fun topics. Anything goes except for stuff that might get us kicked off platforms. And I think we all kind of know what that is. So with that being said, Clover, you are first up this week. You get the first topic.
I want to talk triggers, and I want to pose some questions with triggers. The first I would say is, do triggers really, in air quotes, really matter? Obviously, for the function, they matter, but we're talking about trigger weight, crispness, reset, all the things that we want to geek out over. Does all that really matter? And then either way, at what point does it begin to matter? If so, and then are we, complete snobs, or what do we think? What do we think about it? So I'll kind of go through, I guess, my position here, give you a little time to ponder it. But at the end of the day, for me, triggers don't really matter. I've shot a lot of things over my lifetime, and whether you're talking about hunting, which is, I guess in a way, it could be similar to a self-defense situation, but then again, so could some competitions and stuff. I've just found that there's some triggers that are absolutely atrocious, but if you spend any kind of time with that firearm, seems like you overcome it. Now, maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe I'm some type of a trigger pulling savant, to where it doesn't,
I would never consider you a savant. I'm sorry.
I'm sure that's not the case, and that's the point I was fixing to make. But I'm, subpar, below average, I think. So I don't think that's the case at all. So, and then, I don't think they really matter, again, in air quotes. But I think there are certain situations. Self-defense, I don't think you're paying much attention to that. I don't think you have time to set a trigger or necessarily, worry about it too much. And oftentimes I've found that even with a fairly bad trigger, if you'll pull up and not hesitate and not think about it and just pull through it, you typically shoot a lot better than if you're actually thinking about the trigger anyway. That's sort of how I've overcome that over the years. Is you play with it and go, man, this is horrible, but then when you're out having fun or you're doing something, just don't think about it. Just pull through it and keep going. Obviously, the competition world, and all of that stuff. But in the defensive world, I think there's a fine line. People get really antsy that if it's not 2.5 to 3 pounds or something, or you get people out there too. This is why I said really in air quotes, because there's obviously going to be certain applications. It's going to be a preferential thing. I get it, and we can debate this topic, I'm sure, all night long, 1,000 different ways. But even take it down to the AR, that people are, okay. I mean, that might be their home defense choice or something. I get it. But for the most part, they weekend warrior on the range with it, and you've got to have a 2-pound trigger in that. You have to have, do you really got to have that? And then, like I said, competition world, almost a must, especially if you're going long range. And I would say probably there's some long range hunting applications and stuff as well that you probably want a pretty decent trigger. But I think the human element, is about, we talk about how good a firearm is. And I think that, and this is the way with most things. I think to a certain extent, I think the human element can overcome a lot of different things. I've talked about this ad nauseum in the archery world, because I've just, that was a passion for a very long time. I need to get back into it. But, I've seen so many people spend so much money on their bow setups to try to compensate for their lack of fundamentals. And then if you look at it, I've seen people that do that with tools, right? Like they got to have all these big, crazy specialty tools and all that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, you've got artisans out there, true artisans that can, build anything or whatever amazing structural work of art and do it with rudimentary, right, tools and equipment. And that just speaks to, at some point, the human element, the human condition. The equipment is kind of irrelevant. And with that, I'll throw it to you now.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of what you're saying. I am not a trigger snob. There are certain applications. I'll kind of go backwards, I guess, if you will. I am not a trigger snob. Now, when I do decide to go with an aftermarket trigger, I am a snob about which companies. Some of my Glocks have, and it has nothing to do with me or whatever, but Ghost triggers are really good for Glock, especially Glock 19s. I have them in a competition 19 of mine. But typically, I'm for ARs, I'm a big fan of Hyperfire. I've got probably 5 or 6 Hyperfire triggers. And
I would agree.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan. And there's nothing wrong with any of the other ones. Guys, someone asked out there, is Geisley worth $100? I think that depending upon what you're looking for, if you're looking for an aftermarket trigger, Geisley is one of those companies that is very, very good. I think that Geisley does a remarkable job with marketing. I would say that I think there are maybe as good or better triggers for the same price point. I think Hyperfire might be one of those companies. But yes, Geisley is a good company. They've been around a long time. They've kind of got it down. Geisley triggers are very, very good. AR, I am more apt to changing out triggers in ARs than I am in handguns. And I don't do that very often either. I'm a stock guy a lot of the times. I'm a stock trigger guy. Now, going to, do I think that they're worth it? Obviously, competition. Absolutely. You almost have to go in any competition, I think, whether it's IDPA, USPSA, especially long range or rifle 3-gun or whatever, 2-gun. I think that you're going to need a trigger that's going to fit you and what you need it to do. Defensive, I agree with you. I don't necessarily think that a defensive situation, a trigger, is something that's going to be a whole lot. I will say this: there are people that we all know, and if you fit this bill, I'm not trying to make fun or just disparagingly talk about anything like this, but there are some people that say that they want an upgraded trigger. They want that 2-pound trigger. They want that, hair trigger, if you will. There's a lot of people that can't handle those triggers. There's a lot of people that might be dangerous with some of these very light triggers. That's okay. But I think for me, and we're talking about, do we like aftermarket triggers? I will say, or do we really need trigger jobs or aftermarket triggers? I would say no. And most of the time, I would say no. I would sit there and say this. When you're pulling triggers in the gun shop, just dry firing or whatever, you're at the gun shop and you want to feel what the gun you're looking at to buy feels like in the hand. Everyone likes to pull that trigger. That said, if the trigger is that bad, I'm probably not going to buy the gun, because if the trigger is that bad, then I'm going to assume that there is other things about that gun that I'm not going to like. I have bought guns with bad triggers knowing that I'm going to replace the trigger or do a trigger job on it or whatever. But I'm going to have to really like that gun to make that decision, knowing that it's got a bad trigger. Now, doing testing and all of that R&D for companies, we don't have a choice a lot of times on trigger. But if I'm going to go and purchase a gun and I'm looking for it to be, a gun that I'm going to utilize a lot, and it's my choice to really go and get that gun, then the trigger is part of that. And so if it's a bad trigger, unless I love everything else about that gun and I know there's aftermarket triggers for that gun, I'm probably not going to buy that gun. So in a way, I guess triggers do matter as far as for me in a decision process, but
interesting.
once I have that gun, I'm probably not going to change a trigger out unless it's for something specific. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Makes total sense. I mean, I don't come down in that camp, but I mean, I get what you're saying. And
like
I
if
don't
it's
come down
if it's a terrible trigger, are you going to still buy a gun if you're on the fence about that gun?
Well, yeah, because I'm on the fence probably for reasons that I could give two craps about whether the trigger it's a heck of a deal on the gun. The gun is iconic. The gun is legendary. The gun is collectible. That's again, it's a really good buy. Whatever.
Yeah.
And so that trigger being what somebody would consider horrible, it doesn't mean I can't have fun with it out on the range. It doesn't mean that it's any less of an investment. To say, I'm trying to think of something old school collectible that's got a horrible trigger. There's a ton of stuff out there. I mean, I guess.
Well, let's just take one for we both know that the LCPs, the bodyguards, the micro 380s.
So
and that's I'm just saying, would you buy an LCP or a bodyguard knowing it's got like a 12-pound trigger in it?
For the right price, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Because I also know if I wanted to do something, I know the kits and some other things that I could do.
There you go.
To do that, but it would have to be. Everybody out there knows me. I've got more now than I will ever probably shoot in my lifetime, and I lose things constantly.
Yes, you do.
Probably the only person that loses firearms. I don't think anybody loses them as much as me. Misplaces, well, I should say, not lose. But so I'm opportunistic when I buy. So if you're talking about a first gen LCP, which I've already got one, so it would have to be a heck of a buy, like under $100 or something.
Sure.
And what fool would not give under $100 for? Who would not drop that? You would drop that, even though it had a bad trigger.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, be honest.
No. I'm not saying that I wouldn't spend money and buy a gun with a bad trigger. I would say that I'd have to really like that gun or want that gun, knowing that it's got a bad trigger. I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. But there's a reason I still have my first gen LCP.
Sure.
It's a good little handgun. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, no, it's not supposed to be a great gun.
It's got all kinds compared to more modern stuff. You got to realize that's been around a very long time. Compared to more modern stuff, it absolutely sucks. But you keep it clean, you run the right ammo through it, and it's pretty doggone reliable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you do some upgrade work thanks to Galloway Precision. Shout out to those fools over there. And it's even better. So
let's take a look. There's some really good comments out here real quick before we move on to topics. Daniel says, I don't care much about triggers as long as they are reliable and consistent. I can adjust most of it. Exactly. Either adjust them or you know that there's aftermarket stuff out there.
Stage or just know I guess stage would be a good word for it.
Yeah, it'd be a good one. Yeah. Foxtrot there. So I just bought a new used gun, new to him used gun that has an amazing trigger. What'd you get there, bud?
Used stuff oftentimes will have a better trigger feeling than new stuff because you know this as well as I do. So one of the best triggers I've got, especially on a striker fire, is my Walther PPQ. And you know this, we both got those about the same time. I don't think you had much of an issue out of yours, but mine,
no.
I had a gritty feel to mine about the first 100, 150 rounds. There was some machining burrs, I'm guessing, or something going on because that stopped, and it's one of the best striker fire triggers. It may be the best striker fire trigger that I own.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And I'm on the record. Anyone that knows,
so used could be better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's kind of with any new gun. It may not take 150 to 200 rounds. It might take 50. It's going to take some rounds through it to kind of shake off the dust, if you will, and get that kind of that trigger and all the mechanics in there kind of worked out. Most guns that are sent from the manufacturers or distributors or whatever, they're shot 3 to 5 times for testing just to make sure they work. But that's not going to do anything as far as getting the springs, broken, the triggers broken.
Right.
It's kind of like buying a new car.
If you go high end, you go custom.
That might
You
be
have
a
that. You
different
have that.
story.
You have that a little less. It's like
Yeah.
it's almost you don't have it at all. I don't want to say you don't have it at all, but yeah, you're right. Most new production, there's going to be some type of break-in period, not just with the firearm itself, the trigger, the action, but also potentially magazines too.
Yep. So, just throwing this out there to all you guys that love to watch gun reviews and all of that. When I'm doing a gun review, especially my initial reaction, unboxing, first 50 to 100 rounds, whatever, and I'll tell you that I like the trigger. It doesn't necessarily mean that trigger is great right then, or it's an awesome trigger already. It's for a new trigger that has only been shot 50 to 100 times, it's probably pretty good. If you're watching videos of people that say this is the best trigger ever and it's only been shot 50 times, I would question that by whoever's doing that review. I'm just saying.
And you got to be careful. We've had this conversation before, but when somebody says it's got a good trigger,
Yeah,
you got to remember the multiple stages of a trigger pull.
that's right.
And what are you talking about? Are you talking about overall? Because overall, everything could be subpar, but once added up, it's not that bad. Or maybe the reset's phenomenal, but something else sucks, or
It's a crisp,
the wall or
break
the
at the
weight.
wall, or very little take up. And there's all sorts of variables and factors that go into triggers.
Yeah. So
and isn't that's kind of all personal preference also, some people, I don't know why, but some people like a pretty big take up or whatever, a longer reset. I don't know, but that's just the way some people are. I don't know.
Yep.
Let's talk about EAA for a little bit. We know you guys know the EAAs out there, and both of us have a lot of experience with it. And you put out a video, was it last week, with the Untouchable?
We got to update that banner down there eventually. I'm going to work on that between now and the next episode, which will be next weekend, won't it, by the way?
It will be, yeah. We're making we couldn't make it last week. We had some
weather,
some power and weather issues last week, so we're gonna have back-to-back weeks with the Ghost and Clover, by the way. Yeah.
But what was it you asked there? I derailed.
Oh, you had the Untouchable video put out.
The Untouchable, don't copyright strike me. Not the Untouchable movie. The video.
No. The EAA Untouchable, the 1911.
I did. Yeah, I did. It was a lot of fun to get out and I got an appearance from a non-EAA product in that video too, because I was already shooting 45 ACP and I thought, why not? But got out with it, and it was I really enjoyed getting out with some 45 ACP, man. I really am digging on some 45. I've always liked 45 ACP. I just like the way it shoots. Carried it there for quite a few different years, but no, man, the finish is amazing. I mean, it looks absolutely phenomenal. The Untouchable does. It shoots like a 1911 45 ACP. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's, high end, $1,012, $1,500, 1911.
But they're not trying to be that.
But it's the Untouchable for a reason. It's a whole lot of handgun for an Untouchable low price, right? I think it's kind of
very well played.
Kind of the key behind that. And so for the price point, the category that it falls in, having an amazing finish, having your normal sights, the serrations on that thing, it just fits the bill. Flared mag well. A few of the other little things, just a phenomenal looking little 1911. And if you're familiar with the way, like I said, a 45 1911 shoots, you're not going to be disappointed, I think, with the Untouchable at all. Speaking of 45, as I know you probably want to talk about, a couple other things, but speaking of 45, the double stack 2311 45s, I hear, are out in the wild, getting out in the wild, moving around, circulating, if you will. And dude, I'm excited about that because I think it was on X. I'd seen the other day a post on that, And I don't think is anybody in the chat can chime in on this. Is anybody like with the 2011s, 2311s, whatever? You see 9s and 10s, but I don't think. I think EAA's done it again because I don't think you see many 45 double stacks.
I don't think you see 45s. At least I haven't. I'm not saying they're not out there, but I don't recall any double stack 45.
Not since the para ordinance days, years
it's
ago.
It's been a while. Yeah, that's been
Yeah.
a while. I don't remember anyone. I'm not saying there's not. I just saying I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know of any. I mean, there may be some high end stuff, some really high end stuff,
Sure.
Custom things or something, but I don't know of any, especially mid tier. Let's just say. I mean, we'll say what it is. A lot of the EAA stuff is I would consider to be mid tier. There's nothing in that range that I'm aware of in 1911 or
nothing
2011
for $1,000 for sure.
Yeah, and so it was really cool to see those start dropping. As long as we waited for the 2311s in general. Thank you, ATF, by the way.
Yeah.
But as long as we waited, man, once the ATF got out of the freaking way, like the 10s come around pretty quick, and now we're done into the 45s. So EAA has completed their promise that a year ago that to have a double stack 1911 in all three cartridges or calibers, and they are now have officially fulfilled that promise, I guess.
Yeah, and the 2311s are phenomenal, and obviously all the stuff that the high powers that they've got are great. The MC14, the tip ups are phenomenal. Everything that they've been doing, and I want to applaud EAA for the last couple of years, is they're really bringing in some designs that I'm not saying that people have been waiting for, but maybe most people didn't know that they needed until they came out. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did you know you needed a new high power, an upgraded high power? Did you know that you needed a tip up barrel? Did you know that you needed a double stack 1911? Until they were out, you probably weren't thinking about that. Then they're out, you're like, oh yeah, I definitely need one of those. So they're doing some great work with it, and they're great people. They're great friends of both of ours and all that. So go check out EAA or European American Armory, and they're just not Gerson handguns. They've got shotguns. They've got all sorts of stuff over at eaacorp.com. So go check them out for sure.
Yep. You're up now.
I'm up. Oh, it is me, isn't it? I've got 2 or 3 things I wanted to. Which one I want to talk about? You know what? I was going to do a gun topic, but I didn't want to do all guns. So I'm going to stay. That might be next week. I might do it next week.
We've still got the third topic. So for those
I get it.
That are live, don't forget.
And I don't mind talking gun topics. I want to do something different. So we're going to have some fun. Let's do some music stuff. We're going to talk about maybe our favorite bands of all time. Doesn't matter which genre. It could be any kind of genre if you want. Just kind of, I'm not saying we're going to do a draft. Let's just kind of like talk about some of the favorite bands that we have listened to in our lives. We always kind of seem to always find that playlist in our cars or whatever. Favorite bands. We're talking like not solo artists, just like the actual bands.
Yeah, throw some stuff around.
Yeah, like I think everyone knows that Beatles are a big part of my life, and Pink Floyd. Those are the two. Probably, if I had to choose one, I'd probably have to choose Pink Floyd as my favorite band. Although the Beatles are the ones that brought me to music, because my dad was a huge Beatle fan when I was a young kid, and he was always listening to the Beatles. So I probably wouldn't enjoy music like I do without the Beatles. And I always have a special place for them. But if I had to choose one, I probably have to choose Pink Floyd as my favorite.
Yeah.
But people also know that I have a huge affinity for the Smiths, and a lot of people don't maybe not know who the Smiths are, but the Smiths are an incredibly important band in music history, and one of my favorite bands. Morrissey, maybe one of the top. It's probably a top 3 best voices ever. Obviously, I love Guns N' Roses. I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan. Maybe going into country, 100% Alabama.
Yeah, without a doubt.
without a doubt. And we're talking like that's not just like my favorite country band. They're like a top 5 band of mine of all time.
You know, I'm curious, anybody out there in the chat, a replay or whatever,
Yeah.
greatest bands of all time, and let's say your overall top 10 greatest bands of all time. If there's anybody out there that Alabama is not in your greatest bands of all
You need to
time,
go listen to Alabama.
yeah, you probably and let's make this fair, and you've actually listened to Alabama, and
Sure.
they're still not in your top 10 of all time.
Yeah.
I would certainly like to know why that is, because
Yeah.
I feel that's way unfair.
Yeah. I'm a big ska guy, big reggae guy. And I would obviously Bob Marley is one of my favorite all-time artists, but if you throw in Bob Marley and the Wailers, then maybe that would be considered a band. I'm stretching it right there.
And that,
I'm a big No Doubt fan. Like
Bob
ska.
Marley and the Wailers to me is kind of like saying the Charlie Daniels Band or something.
Yeah,
you know, or George Strait and the Silver Bullet, Ace and the whole band, or
I mean Bob Seger
or
and
Bob
Silver
Seger
Bullet
and the
Band.
Silver Bullet Band. It's like, is that really a band? It's like,
The only reason why I would kind of maybe consider like Bob Seger and Silver Bullet, Bob Marley, and some of those is the band stayed intact the whole time. It wasn't like just random people and then calling themselves the Wailers. You know, his wife Rita was one of the singers in the Wailers this whole career. The band stayed, it was the original band the whole time pretty much. But I wouldn't, you know, I mean, it is what it is. But no, like I said, I obviously love Metallica, Duran Duran, big fan. You gotta love, Leonard Skinner. You gotta love Allman Brothers. I'm a big fan of them. Marshall Tucker Band, absolutely. Even a little bit of the Doobies, you know, that whole Southern rock. I'm a big fan of the Southern rock era and all that. ZZ Top, big ZZ Top fan. But like my music is all over the place. But I think you're right. Like anyone that's listened to Alabama that doesn't include them in the top band list, regardless if you're a country fan or not, I think anyone can enjoy Alabama.
I'd kind of like to know, you know, again, you know, knock on anybody if you're not, but I'm seriously curious about, you know, why.
Yeah. Bearded Guy says Rush and Led Zeppelin. I like Led Zeppelin. I don't love Led Zeppelin. I am not a Rush fan at all. I'm not saying they're bad. It never clicked with me. I never got into Rush. I know a few of their songs. Was it Tom Sawyer and a couple of I know some of their songs, but I would never go see them in concert. I don't know. It's just me. Foxtrot says Def Leppard. Ozzy says Boston. I'm a little wondering why Ozzy's not saying Black Sabbath. Just saying. Kind of weird. Defense Dad, he says, I don't actually have a favorite band. I have lots of bands that have like 3 to 10 songs. I get that 100%. I would say that Hootie is one of those where every time Hootie's on, I don't turn it off. Anytime Pearl Jam or Nirvana or Soundgarden or Alice in Chains, when they're on and I hear them, I don't turn them off, but I don't really throw them in like the favorite band. I don't know why. That Bearded Guy says Alabama don't impress me much. Throwing a little Shania Twain little pun in there as well.
Yeah, he still hasn't really given a reason as to why.
No,
you know, is the thing.
He just says they haven't made anything that catches my eye. Steve Miller Band, 100%. They're that's my uncle. Once again, does he fall into the Bob Seger and Silver Bullet Band and all that? I think it probably does.
Right. Well, there's some. So
he says the Dead, so he's a big Grateful Dead guy, and that does not surprise me.
No,
ooh, Fleetwood Mac. Oh, can't go wrong with a little Fleetwood Mac either. Great call.
Fleetwood Mac's good. You know, quite possibly my number one would be Queen.
Yep, I kind of expected that. And I think we both like Red Hot Chili Peppers, but do they come in on your list at all?
I don't. Chili Peppers might get into the top 10. Definitely not a top 5 for me.
Yeah.
Zeppelin is up there for me, unlike you.
Yep,
Zeppelin
I
is
get it.
definitely within the top 5 for me.
It is not a top 5 for me, but I like their stuff. Yeah.
We haven't mentioned Van Halen yet, or haven't
Yep.
seen Van Halen
Are
mentioned, but
you a
that'll
Van
make that.
Halen or are you a Van Hagar
I'm
fan?
more of a Hagar. I'm people don't
Really?
like me for that,
I'm
but
a Roth guy. Yeah, I'm a Roth
the
guy.
the Twister album is freaking phenomenal. I love the
Mm.
Twister album, and that's unfortunately that was Hagar. So
No, I get it, and nothing against Hagar. I just, for some reason, I gravitate towards the Roth years, I guess.
I will absolutely listen to both. I've got
Yeah,
no
sure.
animosity, but like I don't. If you make me choose, I'm going to choose Hagar because of that Twister album.
No, I get it.
But at the end of the day, and solo career as well between him and Roth. If you make me choose, but
Yeah.
if we're just say Van Halen rocks, I'm on board with Van Halen rocks. Let's just go with that, and I'll
Yeah,
listen to all of it.
I would not disagree with that.
Problem.
Yeah,
Beach Boys was not brought
Beach
up, but
Boys.
oh man, I was
Oh my
listening to
God, dude, yeah, they're definitely
Beach
top
Boys the
10.
other
They're
night.
not top,
But
but
yeah,
they're top 10. Yeah.
Beach Boys.
Beach Boys and
makes
Beatles were
sense.
two of my dad's favorite. We always had Beach Boys and Beatles playing, especially when we were out on the lake. Beach Boys are always playing.
Then you've got,
Um,
you talked about Guns N' Roses. You've got that whole hairband era with them. You've got Bon Jovi. You've got Whitesnake. You've got, man, how many other?
Poison. You had Motley Crue. You
Yeah,
had
oh man, Crew. Big
Skid
Crew.
Row. I mean,
Oh man, Sebastian.
were you an Aerosmith guy, or are you an Aerosmith guy? Where do they
Man,
fall? For you?
I was an Aerosmith guy. I was sort of an Aerosmith guy up until the whole asteroid movie thing,
Yeah, sure.
and I was done at that point. Like I'm
Yeah.
out. Like I watched the movie, really dug a lot of that soundtrack,
Mhm.
but it took about maybe 2 weeks, maybe after that movie came out, with 24/7. You couldn't change the
Yeah,
channel
it definitely got
for
overplayed for
like a
sure.
year, and I was done, dude. I was like, I'm done with Aerosmith, dude. Like I don't like, I'm
Yeah.
like done. But I
Cinderella
like a
was
lot of
good.
Aerosmith. I like a lot of Aerosmith that a lot of people don't listen to because they found
Yeah.
Aerosmith through that movie.
Yeah. I'm a
And
more of a 70s Aerosmith guy instead of
yeah,
80s for sure.
yeah.
And early
Um,
90s.
I'm okay with that mid late 80s. What is it?
Angel and
Permanent
all
Vacation.
those.
The Permanent
Yeah.
Vacation album
Oh, sure. Yeah.
up until the permanent, Angel, Ragdoll, Dude Looks Like a
Yep.
Lady.
Yep.
Even I think it was Pump was the album to an extent. Love in an Elevator.
Yep.
Some of those were okay.
Yeah.
Quiet Riot's one of my Foxtrot says
Quiet Riot was
Quiet
good.
Riot's
Sure.
one of my
Yeah.
Mental Health is one of my
Mental
favorite
Health. Oh,
tracks of all time. It's just
absolutely.
ever since
Who was the original that did that? I can't remember who did that originally.
ever since Footloose.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who did that originally. But yeah, no, Quiet Riot was great. Cinderella, someone brought Cinderella. Was not a huge Cinderella fan. Couple songs were great. Like Slaughter, was not a Slaughter fan, but Fly to the Angels was a phenomenal song.
Cinderella, man.
Don't know what you got till it's gone is a classic.
Coming Home. Is that
Coming
it?
Home.
Took a walk down the road. It's the
Gypsy Road.
Stay. Gypsy Road's good.
Yeah, Gypsy Road's good.
And then what's the other one about the politicians? Little Shelter, maybe.
Yeah.
We all need just a little shelter.
Yeah. Were you a Crew guy? You like the Crew?
Oh, big time Crew guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Motley Crue.
Dr. Feelgood. That's one of the best albums of the 80s. Yeah. But yeah, Dr. Feelgood album was one of the best albums of the 80s. Great.
Shout out to the Devil.
Was David Lee Roth, Shout
at the Devil. Running with the Devils. Yeah, not.
It was David Lee. Yeah. Poison. You a Poison guy? When you talking about hair bands?
Poison's okay. They fell apart pretty quick.
Yeah. Damn Yankees.
There's only
was Damn Yankees one that had Ted Nugent?
Damn Yankees was basically just a Ted Nugent project.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was Damn Yankees or what.
If you're not familiar with Damn Yankees, because they were short-lived, and they were pretty decent. Don't get me wrong, but I will never forget it. And if you ever watched the video for High Enough,
Yeah.
when the cops are shooting at the house because like they're shooting at like the front door of this house. I
Yep.
don't know what the
Yep.
deal is. Like somebody's barricaded in or something. And Ted Nugent during the solo kicks down the front door and walks out on the porch while bullets
Yeah.
are
Playing
flying.
his guitar. Yeah.
Oh, it's like in a what is it? It's like a snow camo duster or something. I want to say.
Yeah, with the
He's
big
wearing.
glasses on.
Oh
He had the
my
flying V.
God.
I think it was a flying V, was it
I
not?
don't
I think it was a
remember.
flying
I don't
V.
remember exactly, but best scene, possibly best scene in a music video ever.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Judas
Go watch the
Priest, that
video
was a
for
good
High
one.
Enough. Yeah,
Oh, I forgot Dire Straits. I love Dire Straits.
our Straits is pretty decent. A lot of good ones.
Now here's a real quick question before we move on. G Webs, fantastic question, G. Is it the number of songs that's a factor, the ability to play live, quality of songs, or what makes it a favorite band? I think yes. I think that the number of songs to be one of my favorite band, there's got to be a catalog. Obviously, I'm a big concert guy, so the better they sound live, the better I feel about them. And I think a lot of it comes down to memories. I think that some of us will pick favorite bands that bring back memories of a certain part of our lives that are good memories. So the band might not be the greatest band in the world, but if for some reason that band or a song brings back a point in our life that was just amazing, then we're going to have better feelings towards those bands,
And sometimes you get these because they used to have Rock Fest, I think it was here. And it was like an all day concert. And usually once the sun went down, then you got like Tesla, LA Guns, Motley Crue sometimes.
All the LA guys
played one time. It was a lot of bands that Great White. I've seen a lot of bands that played in the evening, right? But I'm gonna tell you, there was some bands that never really made it from Rockfest, and they had CDs, and back in the day, or cassettes or whatever, depending on the era, that they were selling in the lobby or whatever it was. They had their hype people there selling their stuff, their shirts and their stuff, and they had all that. So I mean, they were, they had some label that picked them up to record something.
They just didn't make the mainstream.
They never got any airplay. You never heard them on the radio. And I talked today about some of them, and people go, "Who's that?" It's like you're going to have to go try to find LimeWire or Napster and download something, or I don't know how you're going to find their music. But there's one that if you like that metal, metal grunge type sound, I don't know how else to put it. Called Dolly Braid. That I talk about all the time. That, oh man, Dolly Braid. There's quite a few. A couple of hated bands, by the way. Creed, that wasn't mentioned. Creed and
what's the one from Canada?
I can't. Somebody out there.
This photograph.
Yeah, like help us out because I can't. Nickelback. How did I forget Nickelback? That's easy.
Those two are the most hated, but they're coming back. Like especially Creed. Like
man. Creed, if you rack up like top 10s or whatever for Creed, it's freaking insane.
Yeah.
Like they sold some albums. They
did sell some albums. So
so
did Milli Vanilli too, though.
To answer something with G though, one of the things that and this is one of the reasons I like Creed. Creed gets a lot of hate. But I'm wondering if they get hate from people that have predominantly just got tired of hearing them on the radio, because that is a thing. Like I said, that's kind of what hurt me with Aerosmith.
And so there's two things as to why I don't like Creed. Go ahead, and I'll come back.
Well, I was just going to say real quick. And so, I mean, maybe that's it. But one of the things with whether or not I like a band and an artist in general, to be honest, is B-side. Or
for sure.
Or tracks that I say B-side. It's tracks that never were released as singles or whatever. Basically, right? It's like, how much of that stuff do I like? Can I listen to an album front to back, back to front, and rock out, jam, chill, whatever it might be, and love that album for the most part? If there's 10 songs on an album, am I loving 9 of them? Right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so, to me, that's what pushes,
and that's kind of why I am with the Beatles, the Smiths, and Floyd, and Guns N' Roses for that matter. all four of those
with
I can in Alabama and no doubt all of those I can listen to any one of their albums, put it on, and am I very rarely skipping a song. Very rarely am I skipping a song.
Yeah, Defense Dad says he's not a Creed fan, but one is a guilty favorite. Yeah, Creed. I love. I mean, take heat for it. That's fine. But Creed is one of those bands, and I don't know that they cracked my top 10, which is sad. Again, radio airplay killed them for me, but front to back, man, on their albums, most of the songs that I like with Creed, if I said what they were, unless you own their album or something, you wouldn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
To me, their better songs are the ones that were not quote unquote popular. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, I get it. Yeah, for me, Scott Stapp or whatever his name is, I just got sick of seeing him, honestly. And then I think a lot of it was way too much radio play. Just got.
Oh yeah.
Misfits. Yeah, Misfits. I would say they're the best, but Misfits are good. There was a lot of great bands in the 80s and the Misfits. You had the Pixies. You had all sorts of great bands. But Defense has this Pink Floyd takes me back to Saturday nights in high school. Clover knows when I say Saturday nights, but Saturday nights, a lot of time Pink Floyd's playing here as well. So, no, I don't you think? Yeah, a little ironic there. G talking about the Atlantis Morris Sext album. You gotta love G. I think that a lot of the times when it comes down to like Nickelback, I think that a lot of people, maybe Radio Time as well. But there are a lot of, and I want to talk guilty pleasures. This is going to sound weird. You're going to make fun of me. I don't give a damn. One of my guiltiest pleasures, and bands in their name, but I would never consider them a band because they don't play instruments. But actually, they're not. The band's not in their name. But I like the Backstreet Boys. I think that the catalog of the Backstreet Boys is pretty good. Boy band, yeah. But they weren't a band. But I mean, I would say that I think the catalog of the Backstreet Boys, the
Beasties count, right?
If the Beasties count, then they're a top 10, 100% in my book. I guess they do play instruments, and they
play instruments.
They play instruments incredibly well, but most of the time they don't. You know. But if you would consider them a band, then I'd throw them. They're definitely in the top 10. I mean,
I don't know how you don't call the Beasties a band, but
yeah. Well, it's kind of hard for most people. Don't know that they play instruments. If you've been to one of their concerts, then you know they're one of the best punk bands ever to be formed. I'm being dead honest about that.
Yeah,
being one of the best punk bands ever. Yeah,
but to me, they're not really. Yeah, okay, they were like godfathers, I think, to an extent of hip hop, but they're a punk band. I think they were also crossover too.
Yeah, the music that they played, the music. Take the words away. The music was 100% punk, and then you throw in the rap on top of punk, and I think that's what made the Beasties so good. Is you got the best of all the worlds. You got the cool rap, but if you're a punk guy like I am, like they were one of the best punk bands to play. Like they could legit play punk music for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just fixing to say we need to probably
do it, don't we?
Draw somebody to give us our third topic before we talk about Monstrum.
So we're going to give you a few minutes, and we got the random selector. What are we going to put as the? He's got 5. There you go. It's episode 5. So not a hashtag or nothing, just the
episode
number 5
on the 5th too. That's weird.
On the 5th. How about them? Revenge of the 5th. So yeah, if you want to be able to pick the third topic, and it could be anything. Here you go, Bearded God dropped in to show my support. Thank you, appreciate you very much. Great, thank you very, very much. But push that number 5 out there, put that in the chat, and you will be eligible to pick the third topic coming up. That is brought to you by our good friends at Monstrum Tactical. If you're looking for some great optics, depending on if you're for rifle, pistol, whatever you want, long range, they've got it all. And the great thing about Monstrum is they own it, which I really appreciate. It's great quality for a very inexpensive price. They're not going to be one of the, no offense, but they're not going to be one of the cheap companies that you can buy stuff for $25. You're going to spend a couple $100 for them, but you're going to get quality from Monstrum that's triple, quadruple the price that you're going to have to pay. So if you're not familiar with Monstrum, check out both of our channels. We're both big fans. We've been using Monstrum for 5-6 years, and I know Clover has been too. So talk a little about Monstrum if you want to.
Well, I've been using them a couple years anyway. Probably, I'd say since their turnaround, and I figured out and found out that there was a turnaround. And I had Chris on the podcast not too long ago. If you want to hear the story behind that, go check out that podcast. I'm not going to.
And they own that turnaround, by the way.
But 100%. They don't shy away from it. They realized they were kind of junky when they first started, and a lot of companies are. It happens. There's growing pains. Yeah. I would put them in the. I would say you're getting mid-tier quality at closer to budget pricing, I think, with Monstrum, which is what's kind of nice. It's just definitely not coming close to high end, and they, like you said, they own that. They're not going to.
They're not trying to be. They want to give everyone a good, affordable option that's still going to be able to do the job that they need to get done.
But we talk about we talk about Monstrum, and Chris out there is talking about the Hornet. I know he's got a video out on that. So you may, if you're interested in Monstrum, go check out the Hornet video he did, because I couldn't tell you anything about that one. But anyway, we talk about the optics, just like Chris out there in the chat is. And the thing is, Monstrum may be more well known and more proud of the accessory side of things, and there may be more
mounts
people
and
that
rings are
utilize
incredible.
that. The mounts and the rings and just the optic accessory lineup that they've got is unbelievable. And I know people that have some pretty high dollar scopes that are running Monstrum bases and rings and stuff like that. So we definitely don't want to gloss over that, because I feel like in most of the conversations I have with Chris, that always comes up about this new mount or that new base or this new thing. So they're really looking into that. And I'll tell you the other thing that really kind of drives it home for me, is when you start talking about reticles and dots. And I guess you could consider a dot a reticle in a lot of ways. So
it's reticle, considered,
But with them, they've got a lot of their own designs, so they're not just taking things out there on the market or going with old established things. They're always thinking of new reticles, new ways of doing things. And man, in the Banshee series LPVOs, that square with the dot, with the hash marks or the crosshairs, I guess it would be, or whatever. That's one of my favorite reticles in a scope, especially in an LPVO, and something that you got the capability of one power on, especially. I think that's one of the most amazing reticles out there.
Yeah, the reticle that comes to mind, two of them that come to mind that are a little bit different. Now, I'm not saying that the BDC reticle is different with Monstrum. It's their BDC, their version of the BDC, I think, is better. It's crisper. It's better. They've got an MX1 reticle that's pretty damn awesome as well. It's kind of like a rounded square instead of a round, but it's got.
That's one I was talking about. Yeah.
Is that what? Okay, so I didn't. Yeah, that MX1 is one of the coolest reticles out there for sure. 100%. Yep.
Yeah, having that big square is like for one power and quick acquisition and all, and quick transition for close range is just, it's unbelievable. It's almost like having a circle dot, but there's something about that squared look to it.
And that's what I was going to say is
helps you keep, because odds are it's going to be on a rifle, not a pistol, or at least a pistol caliber carbine or something. There's something about that squared off look that
Mm-hmm.
keeps you from canting, or it helps you from canting.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to bring up is I'm a big circle dot fan. You know that, and most people do know that. But there's something about that square that's maybe just a little, just enough different to your eye. It's kind of new to your eye. It's not, if you're used to circle dots and you see that rounded square or whatever, a square reticle, it's different enough. It's going to catch your eye and kind of focus in on it. It brings your eye to it real quickly. And like I said, I don't know if it's the only if Monster's the only company that has that style. I've never
as far as I
seen
know,
that
that's
one.
their design. That's their baby.
Yeah, I've never seen one anywhere else, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And the measurements on that too. I don't know them offhand. I can't quote them to you. I know you can check the website, I'm sure. I encourage you to go over there and look at that, or the manual or whatever. But the size of the crosshair and the edges and all of that square have meaning at 100 yards, and I can't tell you offhand what it is, but
absolutely,
it's so many inches, and so you're able to what is it? Spot, gauge, range would be the word, I guess. More about range. You're able to range off of that too if you know what those lines are. And again, I apologize, I don't know them off the top of my head.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, we're gonna give you about another minute. Type the number 5 in there if you're interested in picking our third topic. We're gonna draw here in a second, but type the number 5 into the chat. That'll make you eligible. And Clover will here in a few seconds. We'll click that button to draw. And if your name is picked, we're gonna give you about 30 seconds to give us a topic. So go ahead now and get that topic in your mind. So if your name is picked, let us know quickly.
So Chris, if you're still out there, Chris Lang, that had that Monstrum Hornet, I'm curious if Chris has got that Monstrum Hornet, what he's got that on. If it's on a 22 or a centerfire or one of his air guns, or I'm just curious what he's got it on. I know he's done a lot of stuff on his channel with some air guns, and if he's shooting that thing on a air gun, I don't know if you know this, but typically you need pretty darn good optics or specialized optics when you're talking about putting them on air guns. The recoil impulse is just a way different animal.
Absolutely.
Time to draw.
Yep. Go ahead and push the button. Let's see.
Here we go.
Whammies. No whammies. No whammies. No whammies.
It'll be 2 whips. I'm gonna call it right now.
How about them apples?
Rig.
All right, G, if you're still out there, give us a topic, homie. Give us a topic. And there is no telling where this is going to go.
Yeah, with G. Oh, good Lord. With the weird
we
stuff.
Might be talking about Grateful Dead here, or we could be
I thought you was going to say grapefruit juice, and I said that's entirely possible with G.
Well, grapefruit juice is entirely possible, too, for some reason, you know.
We got, about 20 seconds left.
Said first pellet gun now, Glenfield Model 60, changed the grouping by an inch. Wow, that's interesting.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
About 15 seconds. G,
if you're still out there, give us a topic.
He's got super fast internet now. He was bragging about, so there's no reason.
Does he? Does he now?
Yeah, so there's no reason for him to be behind in the chat. Just saying.
We just need to know that if the dogs are not taking over the keyboards, you know.
This is true. Under 10 seconds, and we draw again. Yep, let's spin it. There you go.
Here we go. I knew
down to the wire.
I had a feeling that it was going to be something about 9mm, but
we'll do it. That's fine.
He said, "Why did 9mm single-handedly ruin all gun innovation, fuel anti-gun hate, and suck so bad at the range that all the more decent calibers suffer to this day?"
I like that topic. I
do.
There's some premise to that topic.
Well, I will say that 9mm may have ruined other calibers, but not because it sucked. I think that there's other things.
So I would address the fuel to anti-gun hate.
Sure, go for it.
Let's first of all, fuel to anti-gun hate. I think that part of that is hip hop, and I think part of why you started seeing that is you started seeing. So first of all, I agree with G in a sense that 9mm is somewhat an inferior cartridge. And the proof that I'm gonna lay out, I guess I'll take the anti 9mm side here,
Sure.
real quick. But I think that it's actually an inferior cartridge, and because it's an inferior cartridge, that's why you see so many firearms produced in it, because it's easy to produce a firearm for, right? It's not like trying to produce it around a 44 Magnum, for example. You know what I mean? Or 357 Magnum, for that matter, or something along those lines. So I think that that's part of it. Um, it's easy to design firearms around, and then because it's easy to design firearms around, there's way more of them out there. Anytime there's more of them out there, then you've got the ne'er-do-wells in any society that's going to be able to pick those up, steal those, whatever the case may be. More people owning them means more thieves have the opportunity to steal them, right? If nothing else. Um, and then you couple that element with hip hop, and I think that's where you get some of the anti-gun hate. People see it as synonymous with the criminal element, the gang uh, related element, that sort of stuff. But
Okay.
maybe that wasn't a complete anti position, but I tried.
No, I hear you. I am going to take the obvious side, the correct side, if you will. It did not ruin gun innovation. It may be inferior to 44 Magnum and 45 as far as power and stopping power, but I think where it became so popular was one, it's going to be a little bit cheaper to manufacture, so it's a cheaper ammo than 45 and 44 Magnum.
Less material, sure.
Less material, but I think what it does is it's a cartridge that pretty much anyone can shoot, and it's going to be more stopping power than like a 22 LR. It's going to have adequate stopping power for self-defense and all of that. It's going to be relatively cheap to manufacture, both either by factories or by reloading, but it's going to be something that pretty much anyone at any skill level, any age, any gender, any demographic is going to be able to shoot. So I think what that does is that opens up that cartridge, opens up guns to more people. Now, you may not like the criminal element that came with that, but it did open up guns to a lot of people that might not have shot if they were, something else. I will say also that as far as innovation goes, I think that it has innovated a lot. I think there's a lot of things. There wouldn't be a double stack 1911 and 9mm. I think that's going to be that's a very popular gun right now. The double stack 9mm. I would say that the vast majority of concealed carry guns these days are 9mm. Would concealed carry be as popular if it was different? If the 9mm wasn't around, I don't know. Maybe it would. Pistol caliber carbines. The vast majority of PCCs, which I love, maybe not everybody else does, but that is 9mm mostly. Not saying that other ones aren't, but the vast majority is 9mm. So the innovation, I think it has maybe not innovation in gun design, but the innovation of how people are using firearms, how many people are using in general are using firearms. I think that the 9mm was crucial in bringing guns to the masses and getting creative with that. It's more decent calibers suffer to this day. I think that if calibers are suffering because of 9mm, it's because the manufacturers haven't gotten creative enough to figure out a way to incorporate these calibers more. I will give credit to the X-Tars of the world and the Stribogs of the world that are bringing their PCCs into 45 and to 10. Maybe those calibers would do better in a PCC, give people a chance to shoot them more. I think that's just the way it is. But
have you shot? Jumping off real quick.
Yeah.
Have you shot a PCC in 45 ACP?
I have. Yeah. Yeah. Sure have. Yeah.
thoughts,
pretty fun.
Honest thoughts versus 9mm with recoil impulse and just the boom you get, the bang, the ring you get downrange.
Honestly, I like it better than 9mm.
Right.
I'm just gonna be honest. I like it better.
Yeah.
My favorite's 10mm in a PCC, but like the 45, 100%. I like it better than the 9. Am I going to go to the range and shoot a ton of it? Nope. I can go shoot a ton of 9 and not break the bank.
If it was the same price, I would.
It's the same price, whole different ball game.
The problem. Yeah.
That's the whole different ball game. But no, I love a PCC in 45. I love a PCC in a 10. Love them, but 9mm, and I think, maybe the 9mm was helped not just in the US, but worldwide. A lot of militaries use 9mm handguns as official sidearms. Yeah, and NATO so production of the NATO 9mm round probably had a lot to do with the popularity in the consumer and the civilian market as well.
Well, look at all of, for example, we got to go back years and years and years, decades. But look at K98 Mausers and look at the amount of custom hunting rifles built off of K98 Mauser actions, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's something about the military industrial complexes that stuff surplus feeds down to the civilian populations in some places. Not, here it certainly does to an extent.
Sure.
Or right out of the bat, they start making civilian versions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is something to be said, I think, for that. That it definitely.
I think that any design, whether it's the Mauser, whether it's the 92 or the 1911, and whatever, any designs that last that long in the military last that long for a reason. Whether it's the simplicity of the design or easy to use, whatever that reason is, if it stays in the military for a while, then there's reason why it does that. And the civilian side of manufacturing will take notice of that as well. Yeah, sure. Chris Lane says, why is 45 so much more? I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think they're producing less than they are 9mm, but you're talking heavier projectiles.
It's literally twice as much material. Literally,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, it's just a bigger projectile, more powder. Everything is involved. It's just more. So,
yep. I like G-Web's answer though. He says because of the end of World Wars. Valid. That's valid.
That's as valid as anything we're saying.
Yeah, it's valid. So, thanks, G, for that. Yeah. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
That was fun. Absolutely.
That was a good topic. And thanks to Monster, by the way, again.
Yeah, Monstrum Tactical. Go check out monstrumtactical.com for sure. And once again, guys, obviously they're supporting this podcast. They're supporting our channels. They're friends of ours in real life as well. They're good people, good companies. We wouldn't associate with them if they weren't good companies. I hope you guys trust us when we say that. More importantly, thank you guys for supporting us. But obviously, if you're looking for handguns or shotguns or optics or optic accessories, check out EAA and Monstrum to at least give them a chance before you make your decision. If you don't choose their companies, that's okay. We're not telling you have to buy their stuff. But if you like the fact that they're supporting us and supporting this podcast, like I said, the best thing that you can do to help us out is go on to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, X, whatever it's called. Find one of their posts and just say, hey, comment, say, hey, thanks for supporting Ghost and Clover's podcast. That goes a long way. Obviously, we'd love for you to support them financially, but if you can't, at least support them through social media and let them know that you appreciate them supporting us as well.
Yep.
What you got coming up this week or anything besides me? I've got rain coming up this week, but
so I had something recently Friday. I did a special edition podcast with a guy that's got a like a blood sport debate channel. Like he debates usually like societal, whatever, pop culture, whatever topics type stuff, right?
Sure.
So I brought him on to kind of have the 2A talk because when you got somebody that's really good at debating, It's like we could learn from that. We're on the same team. He's Pro 2A, he's whatever.
Sure.
And I had that conversation before I brought him in because I'm like, I don't know that I disagree with you on anything. And he's like, well, we could still, I could play devil's advocate and we can, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because I think it'd be beneficial. And I'm gonna tell you what, dude, when he went devil's advocate, he crushed me. So go listen to that podcast if you want to see me look like a moron. The first half of it, second half we just talk guns basically. But holy smokes, like I really got to up my game apparently when I'm defending the 2A. It'll humble you pretty quick that you may think the arguments and the arguments or the counter right to some of these 2A arguments, anti-2A arguments and other things. You may think you do, but do you really? And as a debater, if you don't know those angles and tricks and tips inside of things, when you make that counter, are you opening yourself up for certain things, right? Are you,
right?
There's a lot to learn. I still haven't. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that because you know how it is running a show. You're engaging with your guest, and you really don't have the time to absorb necessarily a lot.
Right.
And I do think there's a lot to learn. Like I said, at least in the first hour of that. So that was fun, even though I looked like a moron most of that first hour. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And then we've got Interim coming up.
We do.
Pink ass sent me a text earlier. Apparently, I've got a profile on the NRA's page, which is a little bit concerning because I really don't want to be on their page, but because I've got the booth appearances every day. Going to go live from his booth every day, the Avidity Arms booth. Hopefully have some companies and some other creators and some people, join me in there and just kind of talk about that day at NRAM and kind of what's going on and what they're doing and that sort of thing for a few minutes every day. So we got that coming up. And then in between now and then, if the rain will ever stop. The reason that we canceled last week is, we were under the span of, 6 hours or something. We were under something like 8 different tornadoes touched the ground around here. And so obviously it knocked power out and everything, but it's been crazy weather.
It's been crazy for about last month here.
For at least a week. It's been like solid, crazy thunderstorm, tornado, bad. And, thoughts go out to a lot of different little communities and things around that have actually got hit by those tornadoes. Right. But luckily we've been able to dodge that here. But it's just been crazy, and so unfortunately there's some damage to the range with all the rain and the wind and the other things. And so, I'm thinking, man, I really need to try to get out on the range tomorrow, but man, I'm gonna have to come up with some money and try to do some repair work before I think I can even do that. So we'll see what content looks like between now and NRAM. Just know that I'm working on it, and I will try to get everything done as quick as I can and get back into the swing of because I've still got tons of stuff here, right, that need to be that need videos. So there's a lot more content to come. It's just got to be patient as we get it out. So what about you?
Just waiting for the rain. I've been trying to get to the range the last couple of weeks, and it's been raining. It's supposed to rain.
We'll stop the rain. That was CCR, and we didn't mention that band earlier. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, so CCR is a great one. Yeah, Chicago's a great one. Eagles are a great one.
Air Supply. Don't forget Air Supply, man.
Air Supply. I am an Air Supply fan. I think people don't know that, especially there's a reason why my air band is named Air Supply.
Air Supply. Anyways,
no, hopefully it stops. It's supposed to rain all the way through Thursday here. Let's just hope that it doesn't give me a break, because I really contemplated building the Ark. I really have. And but we're going to try to get to the range whenever we can. I've got a couple of videos that I can't wait to make. I just got to be able to get and do them. So hopefully it stops raining and we'll get those done. Yeah, we will be back next Sunday as well. Like I said, this was supposed to be done last Sunday with weather and power issues. We're going to go back to back this week, this next 2 weeks. So next Sunday, we'll have another show. next Sunday at 8 Central, 9 Eastern. And once again, thank you guys for up there in the chat. It was a great chat, great topics tonight. Thank you, G, for the random viewer topic. 9mm talk is always a great debate, if you will. Thanks everyone out there that showed love to us. That the bearded guy threw some super chats out there. You guys threw out some great comments and were invested and included into the discussion out there. Thank you guys. If you're watching this in replay or listening to this in podcast, we do invite you to come join the live chat. That's where a great community of people out here. You get to meet some new people, be included in the live chat. More importantly, have an opportunity to bring your comment and your topic in the third segment and all that. But we do invite you to join us live, if you will. You can be either on the Ghost Tactical channel, the CloverTac channel, but we really try to hope everyone gets to the Ghost and Clover channel. That's where as soon as we hit the live button and go and turn this off, the only place that you're going to be able to see it is on the Ghost and Clover channel. So go check out our channels as well. Go check out CloverTac.com. You're going to be able to find out all of the stuff that Clover's involved with, all of his links to his podcast, his social medias, his newsletter, all of that good stuff. Go if you're looking to support his channel. He does do YouTube channel memberships as well. We do as well. Our website is ghosttactical.us. Check us out if you're interested in any of our projects. Follow us on social medias. Give us a like. If you're listening in podcast, give us a rate, share it, all that good stuff. But thank you guys for joining us for the revenge of the 5th episode of the Ghost of Clover. Clover, you got anything else you want to bring up before we get out of here?
Up yours, Jobu.
Well, I find your lack of faith disturbing.